Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's hump day. Welcome to Wednesday. Yes, Paul Friel. Exciting times are ahead. Boom. I'll explain why in a minute. Big thank you to the moderators in the chat, too. Let's get on with the story today. This is called Bitcoin Blitz. You know, I made a video in January about the OTC desks. People hated it. They didn't understand it. But I got a big update for you on that one today. The media is beginning to talk about it now at last. We'll also compare treasuries to public companies, some of the regulation stuff that's happening, and so much more. Thank you all for coming. Let's go. And not financial advice, and a ton of charts as well. And shout out to FN Alpha YT for YouTube. Thank God I'm a Patreon member. Well, thank God you're part of the family. I appreciate everybody as well on Patreon that make it possible for us to do so much more every single day. So really, really appreciate everybody in Patreon that make all this possible. Let's get into the news. First of all, this is a Bitcoin only video, ladies and gentlemen. I actually, late last night, I wrote a Substack. You can find it because I wanted to talk about seasonality. I'm very big on seasonality. And I wanted to talk about July. July is not only the best month in the year for stonks, but it's also pretty good for Bitcoin. And I walked through a version of this for August in the Q&A question on Sunday. So I thought it'd be good to bring it forward a month and talk about July seasonality. So if you look at July seasonality on average every year since the beginning of time, it's my phone, hang on. I'm in the middle of a construction thing, hang on. Leave me alone, thanks. All right, sorry about that. Spam caller. As usual, I never answer my phone, but I just want to tell them to get lost. Anyway, let's get into this. 8.3% is the average return for Bitcoin all years. But if you look at the average return for July, for the corollary year that we have now, i.e. the last year of the bull run, it's even higher. Average return 9% 2013, 16.2% in 2017, 18.6% in 2021. What will it be this year? I don't know, but I think it could be good. Bitcoin's at 108,500 right now and looking really, really strong on the chart. So market makers, be damned. Let's get into it. And shout out to Michael Saylor, the chief marketing officer of Bitcoin, who's hustling 24/7. Elon Musk says, physics sees through all lies perfectly. Yes, it does. It's the ultimate truth, as is data. And then Michael Saylor says Bitcoin is based on physics. As you know, Elon Musk has Bitcoin on the balance sheet for Tesla and SpaceX and probably some other of his companies too. So it's interesting when I see convergence between my two favorite assets, Bitcoin and Tesla. It's always interesting. But there's so many people now talking about both things too. Cynthia Lummis, legend we'll talk about in a minute as well, is talking about these two things at the same time too. Now, what if question of the day? Just something to think about from Stephen Lubka, who really understands Bitcoin and markets and everything else. He said, imagine if Elon gets so tilted on the federal debt, he goes full Bitcoin. Yeah, well, they got $37 billion on their balance sheet. They could, but they also need to buy a ton of chips to dominate AI. So we'll see. Tesla Bethy, thank you for coming early. And my fave follow recommends Bitcoin. He said, if you don't own even a small amount of Bitcoin by now, you are making a mistake. He used more colorful language, but again, some of the funniest people on X are also ringing the alarm as to the urgency around having some Bitcoin right now. Exciting times ahead. Yes, indeed. So let's talk about this too. Unfortunately, not all is perfect. So we have a very big bifurcation between the left and the right. The right likes Bitcoin, the left doesn't. Connecticut is a very blue state, and they officially banned the state from creating a Bitcoin reserve or investing in any digital assets. As Michael Saylor would say, he'd say HFSP, Connecticut, this is a once in a lifetime thinking. And yes, John, you're dead right there. Saylor should be talking about the second law of thermodynamics vis-a-vis Bitcoin. He does that too. That's what he studied at MIT. Anywho, Sorry for Connecticut, while other places like red states like Texas are going full hog into Bitcoin. Anyway, I don't know why it is this way. People should not bring politics into any decision making whatsoever because the result is bad. Anywho, another bit of bad news too. The one big, beautiful, whatever they call it, silly bill, Kill Bill, silly bill, did have a little bit of a ding, unfortunately. Cynthia Lummis proposed a Bitcoin amendment, and she wanted people to be able to spend, I think, crypto transactions under 300 or 600 bucks from capital gains, kept at about 5,000 per year. And despite a ton of grassroots support from 50 million Americans, that got nixed. She will still keep fighting for it, for this tax relief, because this makes it easier to spend and not have to deal with a tax headache, especially if you have long-standing Bitcoin. But anyway, it's a bit of a ding, but fingers crossed that they will solve this in the future. Anyhow, in Germany, after selling, 50,000 Bitcoin, I think it was, one of the biggest banks in Germany, Sparkasse, will launch Bitcoin buying for all customers. And that's one of the largest banks in Europe with about $1.5 trillion in assets under management. So yes, shout out to Deutschland. That's very good news for everybody. Woohoo. And hello, Singapore. Yeah. And Tom Lee, who's getting involved in building the ETH version of MicroStrategy. Good luck with that, by the way. Tom Lee, you have great calls, but that's not a good one, my friend. Not a good one. But he talks about how long-term holders keep selling above 100K, and that keeps us stuck, stops us from booming out. But the point is, we're getting close to them being exhausted, which is also very good news too. And a little bit of other news, which actually impacts risk assets like Bitcoin. Apparently, Bessent has plans for a new Fed chief in the coming weeks. That is a very aggressive statement right there. They want to push the JP guy out, who has been so late and so wrong. He's catastrophic. He's trying to be a Volcker, trying to be a hero, but he's not. He said recently, the job market is strong. Well, guess what? It had the 6 Sigma miss just this morning. The job market is not strong. AI is eating jobs, as we've been warning since 2022. Okay, this is not a good situation. Job market is not strong. And the more he squeezes corporations with high interest rates, the less inclined they are to hire. And that dovetailed with the AI revolution that's going on right now, it's bad, and it's probably going to get worse. A warning about this should come as no surprise. But the BLS data is BS, and that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now let's get into the charts. Some good charts here. Sean D, thank you so much for being part of the group here and keeping us all safe. First of all, Bitcoin dominance. For those of you who like dominance, you can see here the Bitcoin share of the total crypto market grew by another 1%, and it's reaching a new local maximum within the current cycle. And this growth underscores Bitcoin's dominance because of institutional investors and treasuries, and all coins remain largely in the hands of retail speculators. But the big money, the big institutions, the big treasuries are all buying Bitcoin. Okay. And since the last all season, Bitcoin has managed to reclaim virtually all of the market share it had previously lost to other crypto assets. And the sustained recovery of dominance confirms Bitcoin as the equivalent of digital gold, or gold, analog gold, digital gold. It is digital gold, of course, but that is super interesting as well. Thank you to CryptoQuant for the chart. And move myself to the bottom right. OTC DESKS, I rang the alarm on this in January. Boom, boom, boom. They're running very low. This number does not jive with my number. I calculate from the wallets I look at 134,000 Bitcoin left on OTC DESKS. But per Bitcoin News, they said Bitcoin OTC balances have dropped to a 10-year low of 156,600. Remember, 10 years ago, there wasn't very much Bitcoin around. So in relative terms, as a percentage of how much is circulating, this is very, very low. Okay, it's gone from 800,000 all the way to 156,000 per this chart. Again, my numbers say 134,000, so we're off by about 22,000. Either way, what matters is the rate of change. Like everything else in life, the rate of change is what matters. Very key here. And Bitcoin has 11 million monthly active users. So no, the chain is not dead. Comparing it to other chains, Solana has nearly 130 million. So it has a lot more. Base 35 million, Binance 23 million, Tron 16 million. And shout out to Bitcoin. It's got more monthly active users than Ethereum. Ta-da! Remember, network effects, Metcalfe's law. Very important to look at adoption. Very important. Now, another interesting chart I thought I'd sneak in here as well. This is the Stock Market World Index. And coincidentally, the whole pie adds up to $100 trillion of stock market value. But 64 trillion of that, exactly 64%, is the US stock market, which hit an all-time high. Okay, that's stocks. Remember, 60 to 80% of all stocks are zombies. They will not survive the next 5 to 10 years. What's interesting, though, is Bitcoin is still only a $2 trillion asset, while US stocks are 64 trillion. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are still early, very early. Let's talk a bit about the Bitcoin black hole. What's sucking in all the Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen? Well, in June, Blackrock snacked on just shy of $4 billion in Bitcoin. BlackRock. And I know it's not BlackRock buying it. It's the people that BlackRock represent, pension funds, etc. But that is insane. But it's even nuttier if you think about this one here. This is a expert from Coinbase. And get his name. Whoops. Anyway, apologies for that. But from Vivek, he said ETF inflows will explode when advisors can recommend them. When financial advisors can say, well, you can put 5%, 10%, or per that paper I covered a few days ago, 40% into Bitcoin and crypto, things will really kick off. Remember, Bitcoin's a very small asset, and there's a lot of money in the world. A lot of money that needs to find a home, especially when rates are cut. And who's snacking on Bitcoin? Well, the interesting piece here, public companies grew their Bitcoin balance 18%, while the ETFs grew them 8% in the same period. And you can see here, yes, ETFs are on fire. But you know what's more on fire? Is Treasuries. Treasuries are going crazy. And of course, 85% of the Treasury action is from one player called MicroStrategy. But interesting to see the breakdown too. And governments are probably snacking on the sly, and you just don't know it yet. And Treasuries, here it is, another view of it. Treasuries grew faster than ETFs in Q2 2025. I love the end of a quarter because then you get to see all the data and proof points. In Q1, you can see the ETFs are pretty much flat. Q2, the ETFs grew a lot thanks to BlackRock. And when you compare that to 2024, Q4 as well, MicroStrategy went bonkers. So all of this dark blue stuff is MicroStrategy. Crazy, crazy times. Anyway, the dollar, another reason to get Bitcoin, is the dollar suffered its biggest first half loss since 1973. I reported on this last week. It was down 10%. Well, it closed the first half down 10.9%. Crazy. This is your melting ice cube right here, and a perfect illustration of how bad fiat is. Again, one of the worst years in history for the dollar, falling 10.9% in the first half of 2025. All right. That's the worst since the end of the gold-backed Bretton Woods system in 1973. That should tell you something. Okay. Gold-backed system went away. Fiat went down the toilet. Now we have a new gold. It should be pretty obvious what you pivot into. And the dollar fell about 15% against the Swiss franc, 13.4% against the euro, about 10.5% against the yen, and the yen is complete garbage, and 9.6% against the pound. That is an absolutely crazy series of statistics. So the question is, by the way, this is a Bitcoin only playlist. If you just like just Bitcoin stuff, subscribe to this playlist here. The team will add it after the video is open. And finishing with meme du jour. What's going to happen? The answer is print, 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 print. What are the choices? Print, 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 print. We saw USM2 money supply breaking another new all-time high 2 days ago. And that's all that's going to happen. Money is, without being backed by anything, is going to continue to be printed and therefore debased and therefore lose value. Be in hard assets. Things are getting very urgent right now in the world. The next 2-3 years will be transformative. If you are not prepared, you will fall behind and you will drown. That's the reason I make these videos. South Bay Products, thank you so much as well. Thank you, Sean D, K8, and everybody else. Don't forget, subscribe if you want to learn more. I won't waste your time. I'll go very fast. That was just 15 minutes today and a ton of information there. Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye.